If you or someone you know has diabetes, you may have built up an extra supply of test strips and lancets. That's where we come in. We'll buy the supplies that you don't need and resell them to those in need to prevent waste. Help us make diabetes management more affordable. Visit us at teststripswithaz.com.
All right, we have Andrea Lee joining us on the program once again, coming off her big win over the weekend in Greenville, South Carolina, picking up a unanimous decision over Montana De La Rosa. Andrea, how are you?
I'm good, thank you.
I'm glad you're doing well. I see showing some remnants of the fight. How is everything feeling 5 days after the fact?
Everything's great. I feel good. My body's fine. My eye doesn't hurt. That was happened on a takedown. It was a solid headbutt. It wasn't like on purpose. It was just one of those things that happens, and I felt it swell up immediately, and I knew it was going to be a nasty bruise.
Congratulations, obviously, on the big win. Montana, obviously a very tough opponent, was on a really good streak, and you continue rolling along with your 6th win in a row. 5 days later, how does the victory and everything all feel?
I don't even feel like I've been able to take time to enjoy it, really. I had court on Monday, so the whole week that was really my main the fight was my focus. But for me, I felt like the fight was fun and court was the fight, you know what I mean? So, that's kind of like what's been on my mind. I haven't really got to enjoy it, really.
If you don't mind me asking, how did everything go with court on Monday?
Court went well, it's just, I'm just, family stuff, going through divorce and all of that. But it went well.
Back to the fight on Saturday. Montana obviously is a very relentless fighter. She lived up to that moniker throughout the fight. She was looking for the takedown over and over again. She did get you down a few times in the first couple of rounds, but you were able to get back to your feet very quickly. You were able to push forward, land some good punches, some good knees in the clinch. And I know with your coaching staff, you've been working really hard on your grappling, your defense, getting back up to your feet. Did the fight pretty much go as you and your team expected, that it played out the way you kind of prepared for it in terms of what she would bring to the table offensively?
It did and it didn't, because I expected a whole lot more out of myself. I figured that I would be able to, I know I outstruck her, but I felt like I would at least be able to do a lot more than that. And I was hoping to not be taken down as much. But I was able to get back to my feet. I felt confident that I'd be able to, hold on one second.
Sure. Is this a common occurrence where you live?
Next, I'm close to an Air Force base.
Oh, there you go. So this must happen. This must happen a lot for you.
Fly so low. Huh?
Continue on. This must happen a lot though for you, hearing the airplanes go overhead.
Yeah. I was able to get back to my feet, and I think that all of that planned out the way that we had hoped. And I knew I was going to go in there and I was going to get the win. It would have been nice to get a finish, but that doesn't always happen.
With everything going on, you talked about having court on your mind on Monday. Were you happy with your performance? I thought you looked pretty good throughout the fight, especially against a tough opponent. Were you, obviously fighters and myself included, were our own worst critics. Were you happy with your performance overall?
I haven't got to go back and look at it. I still haven't watched it. I was not happy with my performance overall. I guess because, like you said, we're our own worst critics, and I just expect more from myself, and I feel like I didn't throw enough leg kicks, I didn't land enough, I didn't throw enough punches, I didn't throw enough combinations. I felt like I could have set things up a lot better than I did. I believe the reason that I fought the way that I did was because I was being too cautious of the fact that she's a wrestler and her takedowns are good, and I knew that she was I've worked with her before, so I know that her wrestling is technically it's very good, and she's great at snatching those single legs, and so I think that's probably why I was a little more hesitant and I didn't open up as much. I don't like to fight too safe, I feel like I'm an exciting fighter, and I like to put on a show. I like to bring it, and I like to go in there and try to secure the win in any way that I can. I don't like to stall. I don't like to, I don't like to, what's the word I'm looking for? I don't like to cruise. I want to go in there and be aggressive and be violent and get the win.
With it being the fight game and everything, even though there's several hundred fighters in the UFC, there really is this small circle amongst fighters. And you and Montana have trained together before, have the same wrestling coach. And I know she had said that in interviews leading into the fight that she wasn't really looking to fight you, but in order to move up in the division, it's the fight that made the most sense for her at the time. Did you have any similar feelings at all when Montana's name was presented to you, or was it just strictly business for you?
Oh, yeah. No, immediately. I wasn't expecting that name. I wasn't expecting them to throw that name out at me. As soon as they said Montana, I was like, I got like this pit in my stomach, and I was like, no, I was like, this is gonna be awkward, because not only is it just awkward because we've trained together, and I really like Montana. I think she's just such a great person, and she has I admire her and her as a mom and as a fighter and as a person, and we've known each other for years. But one of my wrestling coaches moved to Dallas a while back, and he only recently just started working with her. They started going and getting some wrestling in with them, and so for him it was a little bit awkward, and I had to reach out to him, and I was like, hey, they've mentioned they want me to fight Montana. Like, I know that kind of puts you in an awkward position. Like, what do you think? And he didn't want us to fight each other either. He felt like, it was just he felt like maybe we could wait a little longer. Wait until we're higher up in ranks. But that's not what happened. Montana, and then they ended up taking the fight, and I ended up I wanted to fight in the summertime. I didn't want to fight later in the year, and that was the fight that they were giving me. So I wanted to go ahead and take it. So it just made sense. I didn't want to fight in July because I didn't want to be training all summer. I wanted to be able to spend time with my daughter, So I felt like if I can go ahead and get my training camp and my fight done in June, then I can have the rest of the summertime with my daughter, and that's what my plan was, and thankfully it worked out that way.
How did your wrestling coach react to everything? I mean, obviously he didn't want you guys to fight, but did he work with both of you in different ways? Did he kind of stay to the side? Like, how did that all play out?
Oh, he stepped back. Like I said, he lives in Dallas, which is actually 3 hours from me, so I don't get to work with him as much anymore. But whenever I'm in Dallas, I'll work with him, or whenever he's in town here, I'll get some work in with him. We're really great friends, and anytime that we're around each other, we try to get some work in. But he just said that he was gonna kind of step to the side, and he wasn't gonna coach either one of us against each other, and he wasn't gonna give either one of us insight on the other's game plan or anything like that. He just wanted to stay as neutral as possible, and that's what he did.
Was there a conversation between you and Montana once the fight was booked? Did you guys text each other or call each other and be like, well, I guess we're fighting right now? How did that all work?
No, I think we're professional like that. I mean that is professional, but as soon as the fight was accepted, that switch was flipped. You know what I mean? So we didn't speak. We just let it be known in our interviews, how we felt about each other, but we didn't talk to each other before the fight in any kind of way. We didn't really even get to speak after the fight. I'm not she disappeared after the fight. I don't know where she went, so I didn't ever get to go and speak to her. But we haven't really got to talk since, so I hope that we do.
Yeah.
I hope we get to talk.
Between
That'd be cool.
Yeah, I would say so. I'm sure she'll reach out at some point. I know you congratulated her on social media, but during the fight, between the second and third rounds, at least watching from the outside, and I know a lot of people on social media were with me on this, you and your team were probably feeling pretty good about what you had done through the first two rounds, but Montana, like we talked about, can be very aggressive, very relentless. What was that conversation like in the corner heading into the third round, knowing that she would come out, look for a finish because she was probably down 2 rounds on the scorecards?
Honestly, I felt like I was down 2 rounds on the scorecards. that's the way that I felt in my mind, because I knew that the fight was close, because she got the takedowns, and you never know what's going through a judge's mind. If the rounds are close and someone secures a takedown in each round, sometimes they go ahead and they give it to that fighter because the judges think that takedowns score high, on the scorecard. So for me, that's kind of what my mindset was, and I was. In my head, I felt I was down and I needed to secure a finish, or I needed to impress the judges in some kind of way and get that extra edge on Montana. So, I came out in the third round and I was like, okay, you're doing this for Ainsley. I'm like, you can't go to court with a loss. You gotta do something now. It's now or never. So I was able to to edge it out and win impressively in that last round, and that's what I did.
What was the last half of that third round like for you? I mean, at one point she got a hold of your neck in that scramble. You were able to get out of it. You were on top for pretty much the rest of the round, landing strikes, but she was trying to throw up submissions like crazy. Yeah. What was that last half of that round like for you, just trying to avoid everything but try to inflict damage in your own right?
Yeah, so I remember being in that position, and she was sinking it in, but I knew that she didn't have it. So it's like I'm just in my mind, I was just coaching myself through, and I was just telling myself to relax, that she didn't have it, and just I was slowly inching my my transition, I was slowly transitioning my arm to the other side, and then being able to get into where I could pop my head out, and everything that I was doing, I was doing it slowly and methodically, and I could feel her losing her grip on the choke. So I knew that I was in the clear, as soon as I started creating enough space and was able to slide my head out. And then of course she started going for arm bars and triangles, and I knew I was safe there. I just had to be patient and clear my elbow, and then I could smash her legs down and then start working from there. See, there was another, whenever she had my, that was earlier. That wasn't in that round. There was a different time in a different round when she had me on the ground. But, when I'm in bad positions, I just calm myself down and I just relax and breathe, and I just talk myself through it, the way that, because you can't really hear your coaches that well, when your head's, kind of pinned up,
Right.
When you're, buried in there and against their body, your ears, you can't really hear everything. Everything is kind of muffled. So in my mind, I'm just coaching myself like I would if I would coach any other fighter, and it seemed to work. I was able to get back to a good position, and then as soon as I was able to posture up, I heard my coaches screaming for punches, and I just started raining down hell.
Well, rain down hell you did. Yeah. Now you have 6 wins in a row, climbing up the rankings.
I was like, Ainsley, I gotta do this for Ainsley. I can't lose. I don't want to be can't go to court with a loss.
I think overall, not just with the winning streak, I think you've opened up a lot of people's eyes. Not just what you've done in the cage, but just plugging away, getting better with everything that's been going on outside of the cage. We touched on it briefly, but it's honestly, being in my position, being a parent myself, it's been pretty remarkable seeing it all from an outside perspective. I know you weren't overly thrilled with your performance on Saturday, but when you got to be pretty proud of everything you've been able to accomplish with all this adversity and all these things happening behind the scenes. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, I think so. I think it is. I feel like it's making me, through everything, it's definitely made me a lot tougher mentally. And, it always makes me happier whenever I'm able to persevere and persevere through all these tough things that's going on in my life. And it just makes me feel like a stronger person, a stronger woman, mentally, physically, all around. So yeah, I'm proud of myself.
I know you're not one to call people out. It's not really your style, but you're starting to make some moves up the ladder. If I'm matchmaking at this point, I mean, you've jumped up 3 spots. You're number 7 in the world. You could probably start looking a little more closely at the, Jojo Calderwoods of the world, the Joannas of the world if she stays at 125, the Jessica Eyes, and a shot at the belt is not that far away from you. Maybe a win, maybe 2, and you're right there. I mean, have you allowed yourself to start looking ahead to those types of matchups?
Yes, I do. I think about them all the time, and every time whenever I'm training, I think about, what it would be like to fight Valentina, and how I need to work on these things, you know, I, I, I mean, Valentina, she's the one that, we're all hoping to get to compete against. And, so anytime that I'm training and preparing for one fighter, I'm always thinking about Valentina in the back of my mind because she's the champion, and I want to be prepared for that, for when that happens. And there, yeah, I'm thinking about the other fighters too. I'm thinking about JoJo and Jessica I and all of these other girls that are like ahead of me. They're all tough opponents, and it's going to be some tough fights for me, and I'm looking forward to them. Hopefully I can rack up some fight of the nights, or some performance bonuses or something. Because the higher that I climb in the rankings, I think the more exciting the fights are going to be.
I couldn't agree more with that. And obviously with Valentina being the champion, everyone's talking about her, just being far and away better than everybody in the division. She's the unbeatable champion at this point. I mean, especially coming off that knockout in Chicago over Jessica I. What are your thoughts on Valentina as champion and all of that chatter of her being unbeatable? Knowing you and everything you've gone through, I'm sure that's kind of what the doctor ordered. That's a challenge that you're looking forward to.
Yeah, I don't think that anybody is unbeatable. Valentina, she's had her fair share of losses, so as, a lot of us, we've all shared some losses. And, everybody thought that Cyborg was unbeatable, and, she wasn't. She got beat by Amanda Nunes. She got knocked out. I wasn't expecting that. But, everybody is beatable. You just have to be the best fighter, the best fighter going in there that night. And, you have to have, the right kind of game plan. But I think that all the talk is real. Yeah. She's definitely not overrated in any kind of way. She is every fighter. She is every good as I'm saying. She's as good as everyone is saying she is. And I believe that, and I'm impressed by her. And I love watching Valentina fight. I look up to her, and I've been looking up to her for a long time. But yeah, I'm excited, to eventually get that kind of matchup.
I know scheduling-wise, everything kind of worked out for you. You got your fight in June, so now you can enjoy the summer with your daughter. In a perfect world, what would you like to get back in there? Because obviously you haven't even really been able to smell the roses of this win as of yet with everything that's been going on. So do you have kind of a time frame when you'd like to get back in there?
Maybe because I'm going to need a 6 to 7, 8 week camp. I was thinking maybe October, I think October would be good. October, let's see, what is this, July?
It's 3 months.
Maybe November. Yeah, October and November, late October, early November, something like that. I'd like to be free for the holidays.
There you go. There are talks of a card in Boston in November, and I hear Boston's a very beautiful place in November. I grew up in the area, so have you been up to beautiful Boston before?
I haven't been to Boston.
Oh, there you go. What a perfect.
But I would like to go.
What a perfect introduction. Andrea Lee joining us, coming off her big win over the weekend in Greenville. I wanted to ask you one thing because I talked to Luis Pena yesterday about his big win over Matt Wyman. And I was talking to him about the fight week build up because he seemed like really, really comfortable and really, really good to go heading into that fight. Seemed like everything went really well for him. But he had told me that for the 3 nights leading into the fight, he didn't sleep at all. He said the hotel was super uncomfortable. His room was 9,000 degrees. He couldn't get comfortable or even sleep at all while he was in the hotel. Did you have any issues during fight week at all?
I slept well, actually. I thought the hotel beds were really comfortable, and we had a kitchenette, we had a stove, we had a large refrigerator, we had a dishwasher. The rooms were comfortable, the beds, the pillows. I thought it was very comfortable, but every fighter is different. They sometimes you can't sleep, and I tend to go to bed pretty late myself, and I will admit the night before weigh-ins, I didn't sleep at all. I was it was because I kept on dreaming about water, and I just wanted to hydrate, and my body wanted me to hydrate, and I'm having to fight it because I know that I can't because I have to weigh in at a specific time, but my body is like, drink water, and it's dreaming. I'm dreaming about ice and water, and like, it was just so bad. Like all night long, I tossed and I turned, but that was the night before weigh-ins, and that typically happens, you know?
Yeah, I didn't know if it was like just a his room issue or a hotel issue overall, but obviously it worked out.
I thought the hotel was great.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think he had a problem with like the accommodations. I just think like for some reason his room was like super hot and he couldn't cool it down. But I was just curious if that was just him or.
Well, okay. Well, my room stayed pretty cool, but I mean that could be an issue. You know, sometimes some rooms they have bad air conditioning. You know, so could have been.
So you had the better room. That's good.
Room, I guess.
There you go. That's what happens when you're Andrea Lee. Andrea, thank you for the time. I really appreciate it. A couple days after the fight, I want you to go ahead and enjoy some family time with your daughter. But before we get out of here, let the folks know where to find and follow you on the web, social media, shout out, sponsors, all that good stuff. Please take the floor.
All right. Thank you. Y'all can follow me on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook under Andrea KGB Lee. I'd like to thank my sponsors, Thorn Research, Trifecta Systems, Victory Beef, Iowa Bison, Lana's Egg Whites, and Lana's Egg Whites, Victory Beef. Movement, MVMT. Y'all gotta check out Movement. It's a new sponsor that I just picked up, and
Nice.
they're pretty awesome. They got a lot of cool watches and sunglasses and jewelry. It's pretty nice. Yeah. And thank you for having me on the show today.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. Have a great one, and we'll see you back in the cage hopefully in October or November.
Yes, definitely.
All right. Thank you, Andrea.
Bye, guys.